Love is conditional. We dream about unconditional love, and we look for it everywhere. We yearn for it. This notion of unconditional love, we think that somehow we will find a person who will love us for who we are. We think that this person will look into our soul and see the true version of who we are and love us for it. And love us without condition, without hesitation, love us completely. But this is an illusion, of course. It's no different from Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny. And just as it would be absurd to gallivant around the world looking for Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, it's absurd to be thinking that the next person we meet might be that person who loves us unconditionally. All love is conditional. Now, it's not transactional. There's a difference. See, a transactional love is a trade. I will give you love if you give me this thing. I will give you this thing in exchange for your love. That's a transaction. A condition is different. A condition is something that we are or that we possess, and that the love depends on it. There's no exchange, but the quality, the thing, the condition has to be present. Now, we see this all the time. Our close friends, the ones we talk about, the music that we love or the movies that we love, the ones we talk about, all the things that we've done together and what have you, well, we love them conditionally, because they like the same things that we like. They have the same interests that we have. That's why we love them. It's a conditional love. And this happens in romantic love as well. But we don't want to admit it, or we don't see it, or we try to pretend it doesn't exist, and we keep looking for this unconditional love everywhere, and we never find it. And we're frustrated. We're looking for this unicorn, but the worst part is that we have experienced this unconditional love. Most people have experienced this unconditional love when we were young, and it's called a crush. You meet some girl, or some guy as the case may be. You meet a girl and you look at her and you adore her instantly. It's as if you were struck by lightning. And you are tongue-tied in her presence, and yet your eyes follow her relentlessly, but with complete innocence. And you are, quote unquote, in love with her. But of course you don't know her. You just have a crush on her. And yet you feel this uncomplicated, unconditional love for this girl. And you think that if only you could talk to her, if only you could show the real you, she would fall in love with you the same way that you are in love with her. You think that. That's your dream. And of course, it's a dream that can never become reality because it doesn't work that way. Because the girl you fell in love with is not real. I remember a crush I had when I was a boy. I remember it very, very well, and it saddens me to remember it now. This girl was this tall, thin, blonde young woman. She was very, very pretty. And I had this crush on her when I was, I must have been 13 or 14. And I crushed on her just ferociously until one day, a few of us were in class waiting for the teacher, and the teacher was late, and we were talking, and this girl, this crush I had, this girl whom I imagined was this perfect little rose of a girl, she said, we were talking about the Smurfs of all things, and she was saying, well, there's only one Smurfette, so she must be really busy fucking all those Smurfs. And I remember I heard that and I just couldn't believe it. And all of my romantic illusions about her just vanished on the spot. And I looked at her and I just saw her for what she was, which is, you know, a 14-year-old girl who was a bit of a strumpet, quite frankly. Certainly not somebody that I would really want to be with. I just dreamed that she was somebody that I wanted to be with. I had dreamed and imagined that she was the unicorn that I was looking for, that we are all looking for. And the fact of the matter is, Western civilization is the only culture, or I think it's the only culture, that has this notion of unconditional romantic love, of perfect love. And it comes from a single source. It comes from Dante Alighieri. Dante Alighieri wrote the Divine Comedy and he dedicated it to Beatrice. Beatrice was the love of his life. But the thing is, you see, Dante only met Beatrice a handful of times, maybe 3 or 4 times, I can't recall offhand, but not more than 5 times. He met her once when she was a 13-year-old girl, and then met her a few times over the years. He barely spoke to her, but he had a crush on her. He imagined her to be this wondrous thing. And from his crush, he wrote the Divine Comedy. Yeah? One of the cornerstones of Western literature, one of the cornerstones of the Western imagination. Romantic love comes from a poem written by Dante Alighieri about a girl he did not know but crushed on throughout his life. He lived to be an old man. Beatrice died young. She was a young woman when she died. And Dante Alighieri lived long enough to see his career as a third-rate politician come to nothing, and lived long enough, thankfully for us, to complete the Divine Comedy, the great achievements of Western literature, of Western civilization. And at its core is this notion of unconditional love, of perfect love, which cannot exist. A child is born. A child is born and the father is happy. He is so happy and he loves this boy. This child is born and the child becomes a boy and then becomes a young man. And all through the years, the man teaches the boy all that he knows. He teaches him how to fish, how to ride a bicycle. He teaches him math. He teaches him the wise things he's learned. And then one day, when the boy is 18 or 20, he suffers a minor accident that has to make him go to the hospital, and they discover that the boy is not the man's son. Now, the boy loves the man. He loves him as a father because the man has been his father. And the man looks at the boy and he loves the boy, but not the same way. And he loves him, and nothing has changed between them. It wasn't, of course, the boy's fault. Yeah? The boy did nothing wrong. Yeah? The man did nothing wrong. The man was a good father to the boy, but the man will not love that boy in the same way. He just won't. Because one of the conditions of their love has been broken. And it wasn't the man's fault and it wasn't the boy's fault. But that condition, that the boy had to be the man's son, was broken. A man and a woman, they fall in love, they get married, and they have a family, and it's a beautiful family. But the man is unlucky in his decisions that weren't so wise, unlucky in his choice of friends who were not honest, and he loses his position and is not so well off as he once was. His family, he, his wife, and their small children go through very difficult times. And the woman loved him, but after those hard times, she loves him less. They recover, things become as they were before. They live a prosperous life, but that break in the condition, her love for him is never going to be the same. You say, the woman was a gold digger. The woman was a whore. She loved him for his money. No. That's a mistake. That's a mistake of children. You see, the condition for her love the condition, or one of the conditions, that she would be with him is that he would provide for her. Not because she was materialistic, but because she wants to have a family. She wants to have children. And she wants the children, her children, his children, their children, to have the best situation possible. And if he can't provide, even if it's a momentary thing, well, then he's not as dependable as she thought. He's not the man that she thought. You see, sometimes conditions are explicit and sometimes they are tacit. Sometimes they are very specific and sometimes they are generic. Generic conditions, to be healthy, to be kind and decent, to not hit each other, those would be generic conditions, tacit conditions. More specific conditions, well, it depends on each person, but for all relationships, and I'm not talking only about romantic love, I'm talking filial love, I'm talking paternal love, they all have conditions. We all impose conditions, and we all expect conditions from the people that we love. So the reason I'm telling you this is, it's foolish to look for somebody who will love you unconditionally, because you will not find that person. And it is important for you to always know what condition you are offering and what condition you expect. Because you do expect, and don't lie to me. Yeah. You expect certain conditions to be met by the people that you love. The woman you love, for instance, you want her to be attractive, you want her to be charming, you want her to listen to you and pay attention to you and be a good lover and to do a whole host of things. And you're willing to bargain and trade down, and you're willing to sacrifice certain conditions for the sake of other conditions which are more important. But you have conditions. It's pointless to lie. And she has conditions too. And your friends have conditions for being friends with you. Even your parents have conditions to love you. The only time in our lives where we will experience unconditional love, true unconditional love, is when we are infants, when our mothers love us unconditionally. And that is a brief moment. All of our lives, love is conditioned. And to pretend otherwise is to be blind to the reality that surrounds us. It's to be living in a fantasy land. And that road leads to heartbreak.